Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon on YouTube, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, psychology today will pop up, click on that, and it will have all of the therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or anybody else for that damn matter. Thanks a lot. Boom, shakalaka, done. Okay, a couple of housekeeping items. If you are interested in going on the cruise, we need to get those deposits in by April 20th. April 20th is the drop dead date for that. I will be in Phoenix on July 4th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Grand Sheraton, at the Sheraton downtown for the Mensa convention. And after that, I will be in Santa Barbara on July 6th. And then we're planning on St. Paul on July 13th, 12th, 13th, around in there. So if you guys are going to go to Eventbrite, sign up for that stuff there. If I do not have enough people a month prior to when I'm supposed to be leaving, I'm not going to go because I got to buy my tickets a month in advance. So anyway, there it is. Boom, shakalaka, done. Okay, so today's question, there's been a whole bunch of questions that were off topic that I kind of wanted to cover. So one of them was on dermatillomania. So dermatillomania is picking, skin picking. So that's what meth addicts do. Meth addicts start picking at their skin because they think there's bugs on them. Or other people pick at their skin because they're nervous. It's a nervous thing. So then somebody was asking me about, well, what's, I don't like it when people do that. It gives me a creepy feeling. I've got a phobia of it. I'm afraid of it. So that's what phobia means. Fear, phobia. Fear is phobia, phobia is fear. So I have a fear of watching people pick at their skin. Well, yeah, because usually if somebody is a habitual skin picker, they're harming themselves. It is a form of self-harm. So it's the same people that, chew at their fingernails, or not even their fingernails, but their cuticles, or who, scratch out of nerves, or things like that. So it's because you don't like watching people harm themselves, and it's can be kind of gross because there's body fluids and everything going and things like that. So dermatillomania is picking at the skin. The phobia of dermatillomania is the fear of seeing it. So the best thing to do is, if you have a fear of people, picking at their skin or chewing, she says, scratching her head, picking at their skin, or, chewing on their fingernails or things like that, speak up, speak up. It's kind of like, could you please not do that? It really kind of creeps me out, just tell them, if they're close friends. If they're total strangers, that's a little bit different, avert your eyes, walk away, go somewhere else, that kind of thing. So there was that question. I hope that answered it. Okay, and what triggers it and how to overcome it. So dermatillomania, okay, what triggers it? It's anxiety. It's a form of OCD. It's a form of anxiety. It's a maladaptive way of dealing with anxiety. It's kind of like little kids, especially, and I used to do this when I was a little one. I would sit there and I would twirl my hair until my hair was just filled with knots, It's a self-soothing thing, but it's unfortunately a maladaptive self-soothing thing. So that's where dermatillomania comes from, is anxiety. Unless, of course, you're a meth addict, in which case you think there's bugs all over you and you're, picking at the bugs. So there is that. How to overcome it. Okay, so how to overcome dermatillomania. So I'm kind of confused because they're saying how to overcome it. For some reason, I can't explain. I suffer from a phobia of dermatillomania, especially when people are continuously scratching the skin off their fingernails. Well, I don't blame you. It's something a lot of people do in a manic way without realizing it, if you have any knowledge. So basically, it's anxiety. It's just a way of coping with nerves. Anxiety, scratching and picking and chewing and all of that stuff. So the fear of it, well, obviously the person is harming themselves in some way, shape, or form, plus the fact it kind of gets gross every once in a while if you bleed and stuff. So just, speak up, walk away, don't be around it if that's a fear that you have. If somebody is close, you can talk to them about it. It's like, it's an anxiety thing. So what are they anxious about? Can you teach them some coping skills? So one way to you got to substitute, okay? So when you've got maladaptive anxiety coping skills like scratching or picking or whatever, you've got to do something different. And oftentimes it involves keeping the fingers busy. So, you know, worry stones are great, or worry beads, or the Buddhist beads, or the rosary beads, or whatever. It's to keep your fingers busy so that you're not scratching at yourself. Another thing to do is learn breathing techniques. So remember, this is all part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, okay? So in modern society, you really can't kill anybody. You could, but you'd go to jail for a very long time. Running away doesn't really help. Freezing, like a bunny rabbit, doesn't really help. Can't do that on the 101. You could, but it would be a disaster. Or, you know, giving into whatever is trying to harm you. You can't really do that either. That's not a good option either. So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So left side, right side. This is the amygdala. The amygdala sits about an inch inside of each ear. It is stupid. Like really, oh my God, 3 O's, stupid. Cannot tell the difference between a real threat, thought about a real threat, daydreaming about a threat, a thought about an emotional threat, a real emotional threat, or some shit that's happened in the past. It's all here now, here now, here now to the amygdala. So the amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree, tells the hippocampus and hypothalamus, oh my God, we need energy now. We need energy now. We got to do something, got to do something, got to do something. So that tells the body to release cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone, okay? Because it's getting us ready to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So cortisol floods the system. Now we're tense, okay? Shoulders and ears become one. We totally constrict our lungs, and we start taking these puffy little breaths that don't go anywhere. So then that tells another part of the brain when the CO2 oxygen exchange is not consistent and normal. That tells another part of the brain a little further down on the brainstem, holy shit, we're really gonna die. There's no freaking oxygen. What do we do? Ah! So then that tells the adrenal gland that sits on top of the kidneys to release everything at once. So now we've got all of this extra energy because again, our body's trying to go, you know, running away, kill something, freeze, or give in to something. But there's nowhere to run, nothing to kill. We can't really freeze, and giving in doesn't really help. So we're sitting there tense, 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 heart is pounding, heart is pounding, heart is pounding, racing thoughts, racing thoughts, racing thoughts. No breath, not a good idea. At this point, people go into your stereotypical panic attack, okay? It's the, I can't breathe in, going to keel over, boom. And then, or they go into a rage attack. So anybody who's really pissed off, you want to ask them what they're afraid of. Of course, make sure you're a good, safe distance away from them. But yeah, so anger is part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It is always based in fear, fear of being hurt, either physically or emotionally. So when all of this is going on and there's nowhere to run, nothing to do, we start developing maladaptive ways of coping with that energy, with that stress. That's what it is. It's stress. So, you know, people scratch. People, you know, they do all sorts of things. And it's really a matter of teaching breathing. And it all goes back to self-esteem as well. People who love themselves do not chew on themselves or pick at themselves to the point where they're bleeding. So it's stress coping. Stress coping skills, stress coping skills. So what are stress coping skills? Well, one of them is recognizing that you're anxious. How do you know before that finger goes in your mouth or that you start scratching your skin? How do you know you're anxious? You know, what's your clue right before your hand starts reaching out to pick or to scratch or whatever? What's going on? What was the trigger? What happened? What was the thought? Because remember, the amygdala is stupid. It cannot tell the difference between a thought, a real threat, a smell that reminds us of a trauma, a sight that reminds us of the trauma, a sound that reminds us of the trauma, etc., etc., etc. It can't tell the difference. So it's sounding the alarm, and you may be sitting there going, what the fuck just happened? I have no idea. So you want to start journaling. You want to start figuring out what were you thinking right before you started scratching, or right before you started picking, or right before you started chewing on yourself. What was the thought? What created the anxiety? What happened? So you want to breathe. You want to breathe. Breathing is your friend. Why? Because this then tells the brainstem, you know, down here where the real, you know, red alarms are going off, hey, there's plenty of oxygen. We don't need any extra adrenaline running through the body. And so then it tells the adrenaline gland, okay, cool it, we don't need any more. And it takes about 5-10 minutes for all of that to flood out of the system. So it calms that down, and it calms the cortisol down. When we have exceedingly high levels of cortisol all the time, we're going to have a hard time losing weight. We're going to have a hard time sleeping. We're going to have a hard time emotionally regulating. Because cortisol messes with your system. It is meant to be a short-term, holy shit, we got to go, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn thing. It's not meant to be a long-term, okay, we are in chronic fight, flight, freeze, or fawn for decades. No, 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 no. Breathe. Breathe. I strongly recommend yoga. I strongly recommend meditation. Breathe. Learn to breathe. Learn to listen to your body. Listen to when it's getting anxious. Can you feel your shoulders becoming one with your ears? Can you feel it? I mean, for a long time, and sometimes it depends on what happens. But when I have a panic attack, because yeah, I do have panic attacks because I have trauma in my past. You bet. So show me somebody that's having panic attacks. I'll show you somebody with trauma in their past. So when I have a panic attack, sometimes I don't catch it until I'm already to the point where I'm like, and then I'm able to go, oh, fuck nuggets, and then I'll have to, regulate. But the point being is figure out your first signs. So, usually, not always, but usually I can catch it because there's a flush. There's like that sinking pit of the stomach and then a flush. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, okay, I need to breathe. Okay, I'm breathing, I'm safe, I'm okay, everything's fine. Self-soothing talk. Everything's fine, nothing's going to harm me, everything's okay. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to learn coping techniques. So there are workbooks out there, guys. You don't need to rely on me to tell you what they are. Just go to Amazon and you look up stress coping workbooks or relaxation workbooks or panic attack workbooks, or there's tons of stuff out there. So that's how you deal with anxiety. All anxiety means is stress. It's stress, and we're not coping with it well. So when there is an obsession, with scratching or picking or biting or whatever, that means that it's a maladaptive way of dealing with stress. So instead of beating yourself up, how about you go, okay, body, that worked for a while. Picking on myself was fine for a while, but that doesn't work anymore. We need to find something else that's healthier. So that's what you do. So I hope that answered that question. Let's see if there was another one. I was pretty sure there was one other. How to get rid of idiotic compassion for good? I recently had an experience where I was being ripped off and I got rid of them, but then I felt really guilty. But then I kept having to talk myself back to say, no, this was right. And okay. So idiot compassion. Let's talk about that. So compassion, regular healthy compassion, is where you can look at somebody, even an abuser, and go, wow, sucks to be you. I dig where you came from. I get you had a bad family. I get that you had all of these things that, maybe contributed to you being this way. And I have compassion for you because that sucks. It sucks. It sucks to live like an abuser. It does, because the karma that comes along with that, you do not want to be around when it comes back to hit them in the ass. So it sucks. However, I do not need you in my life. I'm not going to be a party. I'm not going to enable. I'm not going to help you be an abuser. I'm not going to reward you for being an abuser. I'm not going to let you be in my life, because frankly, being in my life is a fucking privilege, not a right. So, and that's what everybody needs to have, seriously, because it's like abusers don't deserve us. They don't. They've abused us, so they don't deserve us. Being in our lives is a privilege. It is a privilege to be with somebody who's empathic. It is a privilege to be with somebody who loves. It is a privilege to be with somebody who laughs and loves life and enjoys it. It is a privilege to be with that person. So abusers don't deserve us. They don't. They haven't earned it. So, that whole, well, but they're humans too. Yeah, they are. And they can go be humans somewhere else. They don't get to be in my life. They haven't earned that right. They haven't earned that privilege. It's a privilege. And I get to choose whether or not I invite somebody into my life or not, or whether I kick somebody out of my life or not. And it's all based on their behavior. So compassion is not only compassion for the other person and recognizing, yes, they're human, yes, they are suffering, but it's also compassion for ourselves and going, do we deserve to have this kind of drama, this kind of trauma in our lives? We don't. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Get rid of it. So idiot compassion is where we go, oh, but they're human and I need to fix them, or I need to make it better for them, or I need to make it easier for them, or I need to enable them, or I need to. No, you don't, because you're just staving off the natural consequences of what's going to happen. Eventually they'll turn around and they'll do it again, and they'll harm you again, and then you'll sit there and go, oh my gosh, why did I allow this to happen? Because of the idiot compassion. The most compassionate thing you can do for people is hold them accountable. Period. The most compassionate thing you can do for people is to hold them accountable, which means if they have abused you, the consequences of those actions means that they do not get to be in your life. Period. Hold them accountable. And then they will suffer the natural consequences of their behavior. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe not in the next lifetime. Doesn't matter. You get to go live a healthy, happy life. That's all there is to it. So idiot compassion is where we get wrapped up in the whole codependent idea that we have to fix them. 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 No, 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 we don't. It's not our job. Their job is to fix them. They're the only ones that can. It's like an alcoholic. Have they hit rock bottom? Are they willing to be fixed? 9 times out of 10, the answer to that is no. I saw a video the other day that Dwayne posted. Dwayne, who does the dads that are dealing with, you know, narcissistic female exes. And it was by this guy that normally does like tarot readings and things like that. And he was basically saying, well, you know, the mind is plastic and anybody can change at any time. Okay. He's not a psychologist. He's not a counselor. He doesn't read the journals. Yes, the mind is plastic. And, caveat, you've got behavior that is black and white thinking, talionic thinking, which I think I'm going to talk about this Sunday. People have been, you know, I posted this thing on my Facebook page, the We Need to Talk Facebook page, about, you know you've been abused when, fill in the blank. And oh my God, it's like hundreds of people are responding, which is awesome. Because I think it helps other survivors see the same stuff over and over and over and over again. So abusers have got very talionic thinking, and I'm going to talk more about it. And what that means is it's black and white. It's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, tit for tat. And that kind of thinking doesn't change easily. They're very rigid in their behavior, and they're very rigid in their thought processes. And it's kind of like when connections get made in the brain, the more you use them, the stronger they get. So it's kind of like, how do I explain this? It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this or not, but when you like travel in the Midwest and you come across one of the old wagon trails, right? You can still see the ruts in the ground where the wagons were because so many wagons went over that trail, you know, and so it's, you know, hundreds of years later, you can still see it. So that's kind of the same way with the brain. If you keep using a connection a certain way, it's really hard to break it and to create new connections. Impossible? No. But with a narcissist, with the talionic thinking and the black and white thinking, yes. So I want to go more in depth on that on Sunday. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off some of the answers that people put. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I want to read off some of the thing. You knew you were abused when? And then I want to talk about the tit for tat and the talionic thinking and things like that. Dear God, I think I lost my track of thinking here. What was I answering? I was answering a question. Hang on. Oh, idiot compassion. So, yes, is change possible? I believe in God. I believe in miracles. You know, I'm a Buddhist, but I believe in miracles. You know, could that possibly happen? Well, anything's possible. Is it probable? No, it's not, for a lot of reasons, but one of them being the rigid thinking. So, okay, I hope that answered your questions. On Sunday, I'm going to be talking about tit for tat. I'm going to be talking about you know you're abused when. And then I want to talk about tit for tat and how we sometimes confuse ourselves for the narcissist because of that tit for tat, that black and white, that talionic thinking. I want to talk about all that. Okay, kids, so that's it. Have a great night, and I will see you guys Sunday. And don't forget, if you're interested in going on the cruise, we need to get those deposits in by the 20th of April. All right, kids, I will talk to y'all later. Where is my button? There it is. Okay.